costumes, still the classics.
Every allied government gave me a decoration.
Major J. Gatsby for Valor Extraordinary.
Yep, titles like The Great Gatsby, Romeo and Juliet, and Of Mice and Men. Dow down 238. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Don't miss the Rick Burgess Show, weekdays 11 to 2 here on News Radio, WGNS.
The Rick Burgess Show, weekdays 11 to 2 on News Radio, WGNS.
First shot.
For 75 years, Murfreesboro Medical Clinic has been a cornerstone of health and compassion in our community. From our humble beginnings to the advanced, comprehensive care we offer today, our commitment to you has never wavered. With 8 locations across Murfreesboro and Middle Tennessee and over 100 physicians, we continue to provide the highest standard of care. Then, now, and always, your health is our mission.
5 Smyrna, audio and video, streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Good morning. This is Bill Krause, WGNS Radio Roundtable on a warm, interesting, exciting Thursday morning. And we've got good friends and certainly men who are so dedicated and so committed to the health, safety, and welfare of Murfreesboro. Our Chief of Police, Mike Bowen, and Captain Clayton Williams from the Police Department. Welcome aboard.
Good morning.
So, Chief, what did you have for breakfast this morning? This is an inside joke we talked off in the air. Captain Williams, what did you have for breakfast?
I had a leftover piece of link sausage and a piece of wheat bread.
Wow.
Chief,
did that trigger off a memory?
No, it didn't.
It's kind of interesting when you think, what'd you have for dinner last night? You really got to give that a thought.
Yeah.
Especially if your wife prepared it and you don't remember what she prepared, and you would normally say, I had a wonderful dinner. Oh, it was so tasty. Can't tell you what it was, but it was tasty.
And they've said forever breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and I've neglected that for years. A lot of times I just go straight to lunch.
Exactly. Without leading questions at this point, tell us how the Murfreesboro Police Department is doing. And it isn't just necessarily crime statistics, it's maintaining the vitality, the vibrancy of the department, filling positions, the quality of personnel, which certainly is second to none within police agencies in this area. But how are you all doing?
Yeah, so great question, especially rolling off
breakfast,
rolling off the budget year. A lot going on. We got a lot of positions being advertised right now, and we were fortunate to pick up an additional 13 police positions in the budget. We were able to pick up some crime scene investigator positions and some crime analyst positions in this year.
How many people applied for the crime analyst? I find that fascinating.
Clayton?
It's up to at least 400 as of yesterday.
400 people applying for one position.
Yeah. Now we actually got 4 of those positions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but still, regardless,
Phenomenal.
it's great. And we find that a lot of those positions, like the analyst positions, like the crime scene investigator positions, those really have a huge response. People are really interested in those type of jobs.
Is that because of television, movies, and all these police shows that have working behind the scenes?
Yeah, it could be part of that. We always joke that that's one of the reasons. People see all the CSIs, things like that, but it's really positions of interest. And man, we really get some really good candidates from not just locally but across the country on those positions. And a few years ago, when policing, it became harder and harder to fill policing positions, we looked at jobs that could be done by non-certified police officers, and those were some obvious choices. The crime scene investigators, they don't have to be a certified officers. We give them different types of training, and basically they go out and investigate crime scenes, and they're really good at what they do. They go out there, they process the crime scenes, they provide court testimony, and more than once we've gotten compliments on their ability to go to court, testify, and really help us with our cases. So they do a great job there. And one thing I always tell people is, law enforcement, fire departments, EMS, you get exposed to a lot of things. These people literally go out to every scene and process every scene. So they do a tough job. There's a lot involved because, like I said, they see a lot of the tragedies because they're out there doing violent crimes. They're out there doing death investigations, things like that. And they do a good job, and really proud of them, and look forward to growing that part of our department because it's been so beneficial for us.
What is the general background required? I mean, I can think of CJ, criminal justice degrees, for the law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
They hit it in a different way. Is their degree objective different?
Yeah, you get forensic degrees. You get people that come from us with experience. You get different backgrounds for individuals, and a lot of times it's just a matter of doing the interview process and seeing what type of experience people have. With the number of applicants, there's so many people out there with relevant experience. That's really the big influencer as far as our selection process.
Well, with the recent raise in salaries for law enforcement in Murfreesboro, and the mayor and city council Murfreesboro to be highly complimented by placing resources where the priorities are needed, what would you tell, and I almost ought to have you speak in one of my classes, what would you tell a young man or young woman why law enforcement in 2025 is a great profession to pursue?
There's jobs that offer great salaries, and the answer I give is so cliche, or I see it that way sometimes, but it's really true. I mean, if you want to do something that really has an impact in people's lives, that really goes out there and can be a catalyst for change, or just benefiting the community. This is the job. Every day you can go out and make a difference in this community and in somebody's life, and it's real. It's not something just made up. It's really meaningful work. Now, there's some things that the hours aren't the best in the world. The scheduling is not the best in the world, but as you stay in the position, the longer you stay, those things improve over time as you gain seniority, things like that. But it's just, nothing's more humbling to do something, have a call, something like that, and have somebody come up to you 20 years later and say, hey, you stopped me that one night, and you did this to me, and you said this to me, and I changed. And I mean, and we hear it.
That's worth it. That's worth the price of admission.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know. Clayton, you might want to chime in.
Well, I think that's vital, and I would say another piece of it that we gain at a lot of you look at the workforce today and a lot of jobs, and there's a lot of talk about remote work and a lot of individualized type stuff, and whether you'll find community also within a department, ours or anybody else's, that sense of belonging, that sense of camaraderie, that sense of accomplishing real meaningful tasks together. And the great thing about it, with the longevity of that career, you all grow together, whether it be life changes, you start a family, have children, whatever that is, the accomplishments, you all share those together. And there's a lot to that you cannot find in some workplaces. I mean, there are others, and I think that's a big draw as well, to be able to do life together in that sense, in meaningful work.
Yeah. In an earlier life of mine as a city manager, and I was very supportive, not because I had to be, but because I totally was committed to it, to the law enforcement, actually to the first responders. But I was always very concerned over the 26 years I was managing. I was always concerned, how do you keep the motivation up on the part of a police officer who's dealing basically with the lowest 2% of population, those that are criminally justice offenders or what have you. And I can always remember an idea that came up with, actually, it was a police chief, and his name was Bowen, too, out of Redlands, California. So when I see our Chief Bowen here, it brings back wonderful memories. And Chief Bowen in Redlands and I came up with the possibility that every police officer during a certain period of time had to address the kindergartner students. And you get 22 kindergarten students sitting on the floor, and the eyes, they're looking at that police officer. And it could have been God, probably second to God, that they're seeing. So that was a morale builder, that here's these little sets of eyes just looking at the police officer with great respect, curiosity, love, vision, and so forth. And, I think somehow, some way we need to do that, because if you're dealing with the negative aspects of life and in a community, wow, you've got to, no matter, build it up. A police officer goes off duty and comes home and then has had a miserable day, that everything was negative. How do they deal with the family at home that they've just walked in the door? So, honey, how was your day?
Yeah. If you have any type of a career in law enforcement, you're going to have your ups and downs. And I'd say that's probably the same for a lot of careers. Mm-hmm. And I think that over the years we've gotten better at managing some of those things in law enforcement. My generation early on, and even Clayton's, I would say, we did a poor job managing the things that impact us negatively. And I think that a lot of improvements have been done over the years to help people with that. I hear all the time, I don't take my work home, and I don't bring my home life to work. And I'm like, man, if you're that kind of person, you're a great person.
You're a magician.
You're awesome, because I think of all the times that you look at some of the things we deal with at work, and you go home and you can't help but take that home. I remember, my kids looking at me at times, and they knew my mind was elsewhere. I wasn't doing anything crazy, and my daughter looked at me like, what happened at work? And things like that. So it's not that you're going home and being negative, but your mind's just elsewhere at times. You're not engaged like you should be. So I have a lot of respect for the people that say that they can separate the two, because if you have any kind of responsibility, if you experience some of the things you do, not just in law enforcement, in a lot of professions, man, sometimes it's hard to wipe that stuff out of your mind as soon as you walk in the door at home. Was that rambling, or did I make
no,
sense?
You did. I love that honesty, and I love that insight that you share. When we talk statistics, and this is, what do they say? Figures don't lie, but liars do figure.
Right.
Here's one that I could ask you. So how are the stats in police service in Murfreesboro? Are we seeing greater crime, greater homicide, greater burglary, greater aggravated assault? Or, more importantly, what is the ratio of crime to the population? If Murfreesboro has experienced, as it has, a significant increase in population, of course you're going to have an increase in crime. But that doesn't mean the city is necessarily becoming unsafe. It's just more people with the potential of doing bad things. So is our ratio of crime to growth in population holding well?
Yes, it is. That's not an area of concern, because I've talked about this before in other venues. Murfreesboro is increasing in population, but as you said, when you look at that ratio with the population increase, it's pretty consistent, and it's nothing that's overly concerning. Of course, if you're a victim of a crime, you're going to say,
Yes.
my one incident, is one too many, and I get that. But when you do the comparison to other cities and in Tennessee, things like that, we're a good city. We've got our issues, we got our things to deal with, and I would never diminish anybody who's a crime victim by saying, hey, this is good enough, because I wish there was zero crime. But I think we have access to the Crime in Tennessee reports on our website, so you can go up there, and I think we have several years worth of those where you can click on that, and it talks about all the cities in Tennessee, shows crimes, reported crimes, things like that, and it's a great breakdown, especially if you know, hey, we probably need to compare ourselves to Chattanooga, Knoxville, some of the larger cities, Clarksville, and you can just take those, and I think it's an easy read, and it's just something you can kind of see how we stack up. But yeah, as far as the ratio goes, right now we're still in a good position, and still work to be done, but comparatively speaking, and that's all we can do to other cities in Tennessee, I think we're in a good position.
Well, the more obvious might be with population growth. Population growth reflects traffic increase. And traffic, of course, anytime you talk to any population, any demographic, any age, the first thing they're going to talk about is traffic, either on I-24 commute into Nashville or on Church Street or any local street in Murfreesboro. How do you identify the traffic issues and traffic stops and our motorists? And I have a certain philosophy. Murfreesboro doesn't come under this particular criteria. There are some cities in middle Tennessee that come under it, and I think nobody calls them on it. Traffic signal coordination, cycling, and timing will do more to aggravate or annoy a motorist. If you're driving down the street in the traffic cycle, and those are expensive computers that are managing and operating your traffic signal corner, but if you're driving in the traffic signal's timing, you're sitting at a red light even though there's no traffic going the other way. Or you're on a short cycle where you're driving, there's 3 cars ahead of you, it turns green, 3 cars go ahead of you, it turns yellow. So the annoyance factor based upon the traffic signal management, and there are cities that I think, whether they do it deliberately or whether they're not having their traffic control people pointed. So traffic flow in Murfreesboro increasing and more issues.
Well, that's a big. Yeah. Let's unpack that a little bit.
That would take the rest of the show.
Well, we said, how do you identify areas? I'm like, my phone rings a lot.
We get a lot of feedback from the public on a lot of that stuff, and we take that as real. And like I said, Chief, he's having to bring those down to the folks that are actually at the operational level all the time. But I would say, I think, and I've heard the mayor echo this. Obviously, growth happened faster than infrastructure, and that happens because those projects, as we were talking offline, they take a long time. But I think the city overall, the traffic engineering department, especially with you talk about signalized intersections, they've moved to a synchronized and timed and just about as smart as they can get. And I know we've also partnered with the Smart Way system here in Rutherford County that you see the signs on the interstate about the monitoring, and I know that catches a lot of heat, but it's steps forward in trying to help alleviate the problem of that everybody experiences in those commutes. But in the city, it's interesting. I think we don't have a number definitive on a car count, that goes through the city every day per se. But it's interesting. Our crashes, a lot like we talked about with crime rates, they've just hit this consistent point, and they seem to stay there. Now the fatalities, that ebbs and flows a little bit, but as far as the count of occurrences inside the city limits on crashes, that tends to stay there just shy of between 5,000 and 6,000 per year. And as Chief mentioned earlier, that's obviously we would like to see that number go down, but we see those, we get those, we understand it, and we've dedicated some resources. It's a big if you listen to this show at all, Chief Bowen is a proponent of traffic enforcement and trying to take care of those quality of life issues. So we have dedicated people that are just focused on that traffic enforcement, and then we've also encouraging those and made some resources available to look at some of these problem things, like starting to take a look back at intersections that people either violating if they're impatient in that. But it's definitely something on our radar, and I think that as we continue to grow, it has to be something kind of at the forefront of that, because more people come to town, more cars. It's something we do take very serious, and we also partner with, I have to give a shout out, the state as well does a good job about providing funding and overtime funding and equipment funding for opportunities to do specified enforcement, whether it be with DUIs, whether there was one we just did a while back with pedestrian safety, which was kind of an education piece, because so many people getting hit when they're just not using intersection crossings or not doing the right things to avoid that exposure. So it's something ongoing, and we partner with the state, and not only that, but our local agencies beside us at Rutherford County. They help us a lot, Highway Patrol, Smyrna, Laverne, some of those concerted efforts to really put visibility out there and to let folks know, like, hey, we really would love it if you weren't in an accident today, and
Yes.
nobody had to die on these roads today.
Well, it's interesting what Chief Bowen said earlier, how things change. And when we were off the mic, talked about the heat of the summer. Does that impact behavior? Does that impact madness, anger, and what have you? But before we even talk about that, the change in traffic, you didn't have a few years ago people with their phones in the car and texting. And how many people are, quote, concentrating on texting rather than driving? And that was something unusual. I go way back when you didn't really have air conditioning in your vehicle and the windows were open. Mm-hmm. Windows closed, music playing, texting. Nobody knows what's going on outside them, especially emergency equipment coming down red light and siren, and driving in the middle lane without even paying attention. So conditions of life have changed.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that frustrates me the most about the whole phone thing is when you're stopped at intersections and the light turns green and everybody takes off, and you got that one person sitting there on the phone and not realizing that the light's green. And yeah.
Well, I have no problem with on the phone Bluetoothing. I am actually find more ability to return calls Bluetoothing in my car.
Absolutely.
But if I were texting and I've got my little big thumb hitting and I'm looking down at it, absolutely. Yeah. From traffic to quote burglaries, robberies, the 7 majors. How are we looking in Murfreesboro? Of course, we're certainly with 170,000 people are going to experience bad things occur. But overall, are we and I think you made reference to this a few minutes ago, we're generally a relatively safe city.
Yeah, and I think at this point in the year, we're already at the end of July. We're seeing some downward trends on things, but that can change overnight. Mm-hmm. I mean, that you can have a couple coordinated burglary rings coming through town and really affect those numbers. But right now we continue to see a downward trend. And I know I get redundant on this. I'm never comfortable. To me, any level of crime is not acceptable. Yes. So don't think that I have a comfort level with any level of crime. But when you look realistically at comparison as far as city to city, your community, the things that you see in your community, the trends are still going down, and hopefully that'll hold true to the end of the year, and we can kind of see what the calendar year looks like in our assessment, which will begin the first of next year. But man, just right now, there's a lot of positive trends as far as crime, and we just hope that continues. We still the auto burglaries, we're still concerned about those. We're concerned about the individuals that come and commit those type of auto burglaries, where they go into neighborhoods and they basically canvass the neighborhood and go out there, because and a lot of your listeners have probably seen some of the social media posts where people are picking up these individuals on ring cams and they're actually open carrying firearms and things like that. So that's always a big concern, and that's one that we try to stay on top of, and we just encourage people to not confront those types of individuals. Just call us. Of course, the ring cameras have been a great investment. I just remember that on a national show and how it got passed and how it's turned into such a productive company. And man, the footage is good, and it can really be beneficial. So I'd encourage, as one of your safety measures, if you can afford something like that, to do that. The whole keeping firearms out of cars, we want to encourage people, don't store your firearms in a vehicle overnight. Even if it's in your driveway, it's not safe out there in that car. Take your key fobs in your house. I think it's become convenient to walk out to your car, leave the key fob in it, and just hop in and start it and go. Take those key fobs, because those are things that interest a lot of these people who travel around and do these crimes. And of course, I don't know what you keep in your car. If you keep your garage door open or things like that, you just open up a whole new area of opportunities for individuals. So we look at those crimes, and those have been the ones that we're really been concerned with lately. The overdoses, those have kind of changed. We saw a lot of overdoses, but with Narcan now available to so many people, we don't know how many overdoses just don't get reported to police, don't get reported to medical staff. So to me, there's probably a whole slew of cases out there that are underreported. So we see a downward trend in those, but like I said, I don't know that it's realistic to what's actually happening on the street with the ability of just the average person to bring somebody back with Narcan and go on about their business having never reported it. Clayton, what am I missing?
No, I think you touched on all the major stuff, and as Chief said, I've been, since you brought up stats a minute ago, I'm sorry, I've been sitting there trying to pull up the Crime in Tennessee report, and Chief will make sure to remind me that he asked me this morning, where's your laptop? And I said, I can do it from my phone as soon as I get through this. That is a 470-page document, and every time I get through it, it crashes to a point where I can't get them. But anyway, no, I think the things you report on, those things we track every week and keep monitoring on, because they are things that are deeply impactful to our community, and that we care greatly about it.
Yeah. We're going to talk more about preventive action after this break. We're having a wonderful visit this warm but beautiful Thursday morning with Murfreesboro Police Chief Mike Bowen and Captain Clayton Williams, and it's always a delight to have the two of you here.
For 75 years, Murfreesboro Medical Clinic has been a cornerstone of health and compassion in our community. From our humble beginnings to the advanced, comprehensive care we offer today, our commitment to you has never wavered. With 8 locations across Murfreesboro and Middle Tennessee and over 100 physicians, we continue to provide the highest standard of care. Then, now, and always, your health is our mission.
This is Chip Walters, and I'm honored to be your 2024 MTAR Realtor of the Year. I'm with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates, and like many of you, I've seen the real estate market shift and change. People often ask, Chip, what's really going on? Well, that's a great question, and I believe in answering with solid, factual data. So let's cut through some of the noise. I invite you to reach out. Let's have a conversation about your real estate goals and the current market trends in your neighborhood. You can find all my contact information at choosechip.net.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Good Neighbor Events is brought to you by Old National Bank, the law offices of John Day, and AmeriCare Pest Control.
This is a paid legal ad.
I'm attorney John Day. One of our clients was operating a farm tractor when he was rear-ended by a tractor trailer. In an instant, his life was changed forever. We helped him receive a settlement that has given him financial security for the rest of his life. Now, each case is different, and we can't promise this type of result for every case. But we can promise that when you hire the law offices of John Day, we'll work hard to help you. If you think we can help, call me, John Day.
Now, WGNS Good Neighbor Events. Happy 50th anniversary to the Rutherford County Farmers Market. The items are grown and raised right here in this area only by the farmers. Local honey, meats, all sorts of produce, and even trees and shrubs and flowers. The Rutherford County Farmers Market is every Tuesday and Friday mornings starting at 7 o'clock and going until 1 in the afternoon. It's over at the Lane Agri-Park. They're at 316 John R. Rice Boulevard. Now, listen, the Parkinson Support Group meets on the first and third Friday of each month at 10 o'clock in the morning at the St. Clair Street Senior Center. That's where you'll also find a free grief support group meeting every Wednesday morning at 10. That's also at the St. Clair Street Senior Center, 325 St. Clair Street here in Murfreesboro. Don't throw away old glory. Bring your tattered American flag to WGNS and let the girls from BSA Troop 2019 at Trinity United Methodist Church retire it with dignity. We also recycle Bibles. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor Events.
Rutherford weather.
A heat advisory is in effect for the forecast area. Sunny skies this afternoon with a high in the mid-90s. Tonight, mostly clear, low of 74. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS.
Currently, it's 84.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. MTE's EV Car Club has hundreds of members and growing. EV owners, enthusiasts, and anyone interested in learning more about electric vehicles is encouraged to sign up at mte.com/EV Car Club.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Hello again, Bill Krause, WGNS Radio Roundtable, Thursday morning edition. And this morning we have, I will call regular guests and good friends, and certainly two men that we have the highest regard and respect for as part of the Murfreesboro Police Department. Our police chief, Mike Bowen, and our captain, Clayton Williams. So, Chief, you wanted to go back to a particular topic.
Yeah, so we were talking about crime and crime stats, and our analyst program has really, and that's we refer to having some openings. I think we have 4 openings in regards to crime analysts. That program, we started it several years ago, but it has really picked up momentum here in the past year or two. We've got really good staff members. We've got good supervision over that unit. We've got some really good individuals working in that unit. And basically there again, we looked at, hey, how can we civilianize some positions and have them help out with our investigations. So we started the analyst program, hired 1 or 2. Then we started adopting some of this technology, some of this LPR technology, some of the public safety camera systems, the gunshot detection technology, and basically put the crime analysts in charge of that. And man, I'm not exaggerating. The results have been phenomenal as far as what their abilities are and how they can help us solve a lot of these crimes, how they can really help out the officer on the street by giving them some real-time information as far as the cases that they're working. I know that there's always been privacy concerns regarding this use of this technology. So we have a very limited number of people that can access this information. and basically it's our analyst division and a couple of others. So we try to keep in mind that, hey, there are privacy concerns, and that we're aware of that, and we try to manage that information the best we can. But the results cannot be argued. Some of the cases that are being solved, I don't know that they would have ever been solved absent this technology, or some of the cases that have been solved may have taken just a long time to solve, but we're able to get those resolved a lot quicker. So a huge investment, but I think the things that we're seeing are positive. This group of analysts that we have now, they're limited in the hours that they can work, so our plan is to bring on these 4 new positions and spread out the coverage hours throughout the day to where officers can have access to them and have access to this information a lot quicker, and like I said, throughout more hours of the day. And when we talk real-time crime center, all we're talking about is that information is immediately available to staff, just through the technology available. Real positive, real good stuff, a lot of support for it, and of course, like I said, there are people that are concerned about privacy issues, but it's proven out to be a game changer in so many ways for our agency.
I always like to give a shout out to, and people don't realize the complexity of a police department, and in a community the size of Murfreesboro, of how many different responsibilities and divisions, but I always like to give a shout out to your dispatchers.
Yes.
This is the front line. These are the men and women that are the first call. Want to comment on your dispatchers? Because from what I see and hear and have experienced, they are AAA.
Yeah, and one of the great things about our dispatchers, and you don't see it in a lot of communication centers, are ours do police, fire, EMS dispatch. They do all the disciplines, whereas you might have some agencies
so
where
it's consolidated, would you say?
No, it's not consolidated. That's a whole nother conversation. But they are
cross-trained.
They're cross-trained to manage all disciplines. Like I said, law enforcement, EMS, and fire. And like a lot of agencies, they just might have some that are just police trained. You might have some that are just EMS trained. So they do it all, and a lot of training, a lot of hard work behind that, and they do a fabulous job. And a lot of this technology, you got to remember, we're using it on the streets, gunshot detection technology, things like that. So these are all things too that they have to become aware of and know how to manage dispatching calls when some of these alerts come in. So it's a tough job, but there again, man, they do a great job for us.
You mentioned about being the front line. A lot to give context to that was born out of you mentioned with the advent of cell phone and people moving constantly. You couldn't really control where the 911 call was going per se, depending on where you were in relation to a cell tower. So I think leadership realized the need that, hey, when you answer that phone, you need to, whatever that call for service is, versus like, well, hold on, let me transfer you to the right person. That was so that they can be that and gather that necessary information in a quick time to make sure that get the right apparatus or personnel to them. So that's how that came about.
How do you encourage citizens to be far more observant of what goes on around them? Their eyes and ears open far more. I can remember years ago, used to do a scenario in class, and probably a class of 25, 30 college students, and I'd have my old briefcase sitting on the table next to me. And I had a staff member, just in the early part of the class, just walk in very nonchalantly and pick up the briefcase and walk out. It was planned. Half hour later, I would ask the students to write down a description of the suspect, and gender and height and weight, even ethnic background, varied like a rainbow. And in terms, not just when you walk into a parking structure or you're walking late at night, is a citizen keeping their eyes and ears open? Or getting back to dispatching, are they giving the right information on the 911 call? Are they giving the correct address, correct location, issue at hand? Do you have citizen training, citizens workshops, citizens outreach at people could participate in the Murfreesboro area.
Yeah, our Citizens Police Academy is
great.
We've got one scheduled coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that would be, is that still open as far as application process?
As according to social media, it is still. That's the one for this fall. And there's that teen one still as well.
We do the teen CPA, we do the adult Citizens Police Academy, and the big difference is the ride-alongs. The teens don't get to do the ride-alongs like the adults do.
Sure.
So that's something we encourage. We do the youth summer camps. Our SROs put on summer camps, and I think we filled all those open spots this past summer and had a great turnout. So there's, at different levels, we have those opportunities to engage. It's interesting what you say about the observation skills. I think, man, I don't know, you have to have good observation skills because everybody catches everything on phone now.
I forgot to take pictures of everything.
I remember seeing.
Excellent point.
I remember seeing, and probably shouldn't say something. I remember seeing an accident one day, and I went down to help the folks, but I'm like, it amazed me the number of people that were standing there with phones recording it instead of going down and checking. It's just like it's just like everything gets recorded nowadays. It's on video nowadays.
And what impact does that have on a police officer, believing that this may be a hostile photo opportunity?
You know, I think my generation was shocked by it.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it's not just normal nowadays. It's just, it is what it is.
What is normal today was exceptional as recently as 10 years ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as the videoing and stuff like that, I think people are just used to it.
Yeah.
Being located with I-24 going through the community, does that create a potential crime situation that because it's a transient interstate and people are going north, south, or east, west, and coming through Murfreesboro, do they stop, commit a crime, and go on their way?
It happens. Yes, absolutely, it happens. You have organized groups that will use that interstate route. You've got people that will come from other communities close to us that will use I-24, get off on some of these, and we see it with the car burglaries. Individuals, we've had them come from Nashville. They'll come in, get off on the exits, hit some of those neighborhoods that are close, turn around, get back on the interstate, and head back, and it's not just we've had people from other states come through and commit crimes. So you know, along the hotels, some of the things, Medical Center Parkway, things like that. So that's something we definitely have to be constantly on top of to help minimize the impact of those. But it happens. It happens.
Are you seeing an increase above and beyond the norm of white collar crimes? Scams, I mean, which I hear about scams all the time, and the white collar crime based upon the technology that's available is horrendous.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's, I mean, we have for example, we have a unit that's, we call it our teleserve unit, but it's kind of the front line too. If you come to the department to report something, and a lot of those calls, unfortunately, they are victims, whether it be elderly or those susceptible, just kind of disposition toward online scams. We see a lot of the romance scams. We see a lot of the Social Security. We see some where people will call and they'll pretend to be a son or daughter or nephew, and say, "Hey, I've been in this incident. I need some money."
That guy was just apprehended in Canada that was running the national scam, $40 million scam, and I used to get calls like that, and I would just play along. I just enjoyed playing along, and
and then
finally I told him to go get a job.
It's you hate it, and it's heartbreaking because a lot of times independent, the way they convey that, whether it be a wire or transfer or a bank draft or gift card, it's the heartbreaking thing is their money. I mean, it's gone. We can't, and a lot of times the banks can't even get it back to them. So that's part of, and I know we have done some of that outreach as well with our senior community, doing some of that education to protect them from online, much like what we do with the youth side of it. And when a lot of times if we see something going around, we'll put out on our social media page, say, "Hey, we're aware of this." I mean, the worst ones that we get frustrated with are the ones where people call pretending to be law enforcement, saying, "Hey, you need to come and pay," and it's it's very believable because
yes.
they can get names off of websites and and things like that. So we would just encourage anybody, if you get something like that, always, it's no problem to call our dispatch line and talk to an officer and say, hey, is this legit? And we'll be glad to walk you through that.
Or if you get something online, don't answer.
Same way.
Don't respond, don't
Same
get into
way.
their system.
Yep.
And that happens, 100 times a day?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
No telling.
Absolutely.
And you're right, it takes advantage, because I know individuals whose parents are elderly and are dealing with some cognitive issues, things like that. And it's amazing how they want to respond to those types of things.
They're lonesome. It's a voice that's calling them.
And it's shameful that somebody would take advantage of something like that. But there's people that do fall victim to those types of things. And I've gotten calls before. The big one is that you hear a lot is, hey, you've got a warrant on file. We need this type of money.
Yep.
Here's how you can pay us for it. And it's just like, if you ever have a doubt, if you receive one of those calls or texts, call us, call the sheriff's department, call anybody in your jurisdiction that would have some knowledge of that type of stuff, and we can help you vet that information and make sure that it's not a scam.
How do you deal with, and this is where I was getting with the question on the hot summer, how do you get issues, minor issues, and not minor to the victim, but issues in a neighborhood, barking dog, keeping people awake all night, arguments between neighbors, just the little civil actions that are occurring in neighborhoods, the stolen bicycle. Do people, does this generate a whole series of police response that very time-consuming, cost-consuming?
Yeah. Wow, good question. So our goal is, we don't want to have to run license sirens to everything, so we always try to minimize the type of calls. We try to prioritize our calls. We have different priority levels on calls, but maybe we'll get there that one day. I just don't want to be the department yet that still doesn't try to help out in situations that may seem minor, because that barking dog call could turn into a fight call.
Absolutely.
If going unresolved. So you try to get in there and you try to help mediate and try to help those situations. So there's a lot of things that seem low priority that really, if you can get in front of it, you may prevent a long-term problem or a more severe problem later down the road. So we just have to prioritize that stuff. Like I said, we try to help out in any situation we can, and it's just a matter of just having to prioritize those things. So that barking dog call might have to wait a period of time to get responded to over some other type call that has a higher priority. But like I said, we have a policy that prioritizes our calls. Our communication staff uses that, and I don't want to be the agency.
It's a referee on every disagreement.
Well, I don't want to be the agency, though, that leaves people sitting for a long time waiting for some type of police response, especially when it's something serious. And, a lot of communities, larger communities, are faced with that. That burglary call might not get an answer to the next day, and we don't want to be that agency.
Yep.
So,
MTSU, big part of this community. Out of the 170,000 population and 20,000 students plus or minus. Good rapport and good relationship with MTSU?
Yeah. Chief Cop has always been somebody that you can pick up the phone and talk to, and he'll pick up the phone and call if he's got any questions. But yeah, absolutely. I think that we have a great working relationship with their law enforcement, and I don't feel that any time that me or any of my staff members could not call over there and get some type of response or help or assistance, and I think that we're the same way. If they ever need anything, we'd help them out in any way. You got to remember, an incident happens at MTSU is happening in the city of Murfreesboro.
Yes.
So we have got to be able to help and assist them in any way possible. And I know that if we had some things that occurred near campus, that they'd be there to help us as well.
So if there was an overdose, for example, of a student, or a drug issue going on in the campus, the working relationship between the two agencies is very strong.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe so. I mean, I think that, we have, and I'm not just talking about MTSU, you're always going to have some things, but I mean, when you look at Rutherford County overall, I think that when you look at Laverne, Smyrna, Sheriff's Department, is it perfect? No, but man, we've got a pretty solid working relationship,
Yes.
and have THP. I think it's been that way. Well, since I've been here, it's been pretty consistent. It's something that you don't see in a lot of areas. So I think we're very fortunate in that aspect that anybody from any of those agencies, you can call us at any time, and I feel comfortable calling any of them to discuss issues or seek assistance or guidance or vice versa. So so we're fortunate. We're fortunate in this area.
We'll be right back after this break. We're visiting with Chief Mike Bowen of the Murfreesboro Police Department and Captain Clayton Williams of the Murfreesboro Police Department. I want you to think of one thing when we come back, the backside after this, the relationship with the courts. Your police officers having to testify. We'll talk about that right after we come back.
For 75 years, Murfreesboro Medical Clinic has been a cornerstone of health and compassion in our community. From our humble beginnings to the advanced, comprehensive care we offer today, our commitment to you has never wavered. With 8 locations across Murfreesboro and Middle Tennessee and over 100 physicians, we continue to provide the highest standard of care. Then, now, and always, your health is our mission.
Turn to Turner Security.
Hey, it's Brian, and we've relied on Turner Security for systems here at WGNS and Big G TV for many years. Their advanced security solutions with real-time monitoring and automation keep us safe. Plus, their expert IT service ensures our tech runs smoothly, from networks, computers to troubleshooting. Their team tailors solutions to our needs, and I highly recommend them for home or business solutions for you.
Turn to Turner Security.
That you can listen to us anywhere. AM, FM, online.
Choosing the right insurance can be overwhelming. That's where Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance comes in. At Rayburn, we're not just about policies, we're about people. Rick Hall will take the time to understand your needs and find the best coverage at the best price. We've been serving our community since 1973. So why not let Rick Hall take the stress out of insurance? Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance Agency, where you're more than just a policy number. You're our neighbors.
Dozens of vendors, one local tradition.
Plump, juicy tomatoes.
The Farmers Market, every Tuesday and Friday, 7 a.m. to 1.
Pick fresh this morning.
At Lane Agro Park in Murfreesboro.
Farm fresh eggs.
At 315 John R. Rice Boulevard.
50 years strong. Come see why.
Is your business getting slowed down by constant IT issues? At Syscorp Computer Services, we take the stress out of technology. Our managed IT services include on-site and remote support, managed services, cybersecurity, cloud backups, and more, all tailored to fit your business. Let us handle the tech so you can focus on what matters most. Call Syscorp today for your free consultation at 615-809-3687 or visit our website at sys-corp.net. sys-corp.net.
This is Kim Dunaway from Sunshine Nutrition Center. You hear me on Monday mornings at 7:20 talking about how to lead a healthier lifestyle. We carry supplements, personal care, and grocery items at both our Murfreesboro and Smyrna locations, family owned and operated since 1989.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
This is Bill Krause, last segment of the WGNS Radio Roundtable Thursday morning edition. And most hopefully you're enjoying, like I'm enjoying and appreciating, the shared information, shared insights, and shared optimism. I'll use the term optimism in terms of law enforcement with our police chief of Murfreesboro, Michael Bowen, and Captain Clayton Williams. Before we go on the judges, I did want to ask one question. Somebody is planning to buy a new house in Murfreesboro, a new home. they can come to the police department and find crime stats in that particular area, neighborhood, determine if it's a safe or non-safe area.
They can come there and ask those questions, or if they want to, they can go to our crime mapping. I don't have that site right off the top of my head, but it's and they can just kind of look in the area, and it'll kind of, they can do a date range and check those things, and it'll and if they've got a, I don't want to take it, if they've got a good realtor, they should be able to do that for them as well. So
excellent. And the relationship between the police and the courts.
We have,
and I'm not talking about tennis or pickleball courts.
I think we have a really good open relationship. I know we had a Deputy Chief Gensmer had a meeting. We try to meet with those folks regularly just to kind of keep up on issues, and just like as we are sometimes when in that judge seat, is, you know, you serve a lot more administrative role, and the nuts and bolts of the day to day, you know, you don't necessarily see. So, but they're always open to listening to any concerns we may have and about the system, and with law changes and requirement changes that sometimes create small little obstacles that we have to work through to figure out, okay, as you well know, the lawmakers, the intent, and then how do you put that into actual
implementation?
Exactly, because sometimes it's not a clear path, and you have to find workarounds to do that work with everybody. But our district attorney's office, the police departments, and the judges and the sheriff's office, I mean, all of that makes up part of that court system, and it's been pretty well. I will say, you know, just like with us, reform, you know, they've seen some changes where, you know, there's been a big push, especially with like drug offenses and things like that, trying to be more into a, I guess should say, a reformative and, you know, a path of action versus just everything goes to jail, you know, and rightfully so. They limited space on that, so they have to triage those things, and so sometimes it's different than what you might used to have seen. But as far as relationship with officers and working through that system, they're very receptive and open, and been anytime we've had an issue, or they're always willing to hear and figure out how we can work through it together.
Chief, you've been with the Murfreesboro Police Department since when?
June of 1988.
If you were to think of 3 items that have dramatically changed, not only in Murfreesboro, but in law enforcement itself, since that day you began to July 2025, can you think of 3 things from your perspective that have dramatically changed?
The technology's got to be the big one.
Oh, absolutely.
The technology is just 10 years ago, if you would have told me some of this technology would be available, I'd be like, man, you're full of it. But no, it's just amazing. And we've probably seen more advances in the past 5 years than I saw in the first 15 years. So that's definitely.
Well, even the cameras, the exterior cameras, both at traffic signals and businesses and homes.
Yeah,
I mean, just itself, 30 years ago, that would have been a constitutional issue of privacy, but now we assume it is part of the real world.
Yeah. So I guess all my answers would fall under that technology piece, just the different types of technology, but the growth, you know, when you talk about specifically Murfreesboro, the growth, who could have imagined that? I remember doing a project in 2007, and I was projecting the population of Murfreesboro, and it's before we knew a lot of what we knew now, and I'm like, we're going to be 100,000, and
wow.
I'm like, look at where we're at now.
Yeah.
It's surpassed that by a whole lot, and just. I don't know, just the climate for law enforcement that changes as far as the overall climate for law enforcement. That's really changed a whole lot. When you go back to 2020, could never predicted a year like that, and you just look at the impact that it had nationally on law enforcement, and the challenges of having to make law enforcement a job that nobody was applying for. Not just locally, and having to turn that around to where people are back interested and you're starting to fill positions again. Those are just things that you could have never predicted, and when you look back on it, you're like, wow, did that really happen? I don't know.
On a lighter note, I bet you never thought you'd be driving a station wagon as a police car, essentially.
Oh, yes.
The SUV, you probably thought the cruiser would never go away, right?
Okay, it's not a station wagon.
No,
I mean, in your day, it would have been a station wagon in '88.
A Woody.
There was no.
Might have been a Woody.
Well, maybe the Jeep Wagoneer may have been around then. I don't know.
Well, it's like weird. You bring up cars, and I'm like so everything goes back.
I know,
to
that's what I'm saying. I was just trying to.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, all-wheel drive vehicles, and you know how that's had an impact, and you know they're driving around with computers in their cars, and it's just so much.
Yeah.
And I guess if I really answer that question honestly, it would all be the technology available.
Yeah.
You know, I'll leave you with the last question, Chief, and don't like to put him on the spot because this is the last question. If you can think of 3 to 4 fellow officers that you worked with back when you began with Murfreesboro, is the personality and makeup of today's police officer quite different than the man or woman, if a woman was in police work at that time, if a man or woman who you worked with versus the man and woman who's on the front line today?
Wow.
Save the big for the best.
That's tough.
Yeah. Different, yes, but I'm not going to say it's better or worse.
No,
it's just different.
It's a different person.
There's different. I mean, of course, you know, 40 years ago, the attitudes and things like that were different, just in general in society. And I think there's a lot of over the past years, there's a lot of positives to where I think officers in a lot of ways nowadays have more information, are better equipped, and have better knowledge in doing their jobs. I mean, we had what we had at the time, so it's a relative type analysis, you know, based on what you knew at the time. But they're different, but it's not a bad different.
No. Although I can go back more than 40 years and then go back that a typical candidate was from a family of police.
Yeah.
The influence of an applicant from a parent or a grandparent or an uncle was very strong, and that the family tradition was a major criteria for entering police service.
Yeah, and definitely very savvy technology-wise, very informed, able to get information. So there's a lot of positives in it, and I go back to the older days of back in the 80s, stuff like that. You know, good cops back then, just different type because of the resources we had available to us. But so they're both great generations. They're just different generations.
That's life and change.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Chief Mike Bowen and Captain Williams, Captain Clayton Williams. You represent and reflect a department, and I'll say this not editorially, I'll say this professionally, second to none. I will say second to none, not only in Rutherford County, but throughout our state of Tennessee. Keep up the phenomenal work. I'll go beyond the saying of thank you for your service. I'll say thank you for your passion, commitment, and dedication. And that's what really counts. Keep up the super work. Look forward to having you back this fall and talking about preparing for the holidays, law enforcement-wise.
Yeah.